Hi, everybody. How are you? Welcome to Impossible Live. Welcome back if you're returning. And if this is your first time, or whether you're returning, please let us know where you're joining us from and let us know a way we can help you in between Impossible Lives. I am so delighted and excited to introduce you to the amazing Shell Shapiro. Lachelle, America's Supermom. Thank you so much for connecting us. Been so truly excited since our first conversation, which probably led into our title. But Shell, I'm going to give you a chance just to introduce yourself and let everybody know a little bit more about wonderful you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited for you to have this conversation with your audience and for bringing me on today to have it with you all. I'm Shel Shapiro. I am, as you see on the screen, a top LinkedIn expert, recognized as one anyway. It's not a self proclaimed thing. And I work with wellness professionals to brand themselves and market themselves on LinkedIn. So we figure out what is unique about them and we tailor a marketing strategy based on what their goals and what they're trying to do, why they're on this platform in the first place. We tailor their goals specifically to what they are looking to do. And that means that the strategy is going to be different for every single person. Yeah, there's like some nuances that are the same here and there, but like if you're looking for a holistic way to approach standing out on LinkedIn, that's where I come in. So I'm excited to talk more with you all and Melanie about how to have conversations that lead to collaboration. If I can speak today, collaborations and more speaking opportunities, more clients, whatever it is that you're looking for here on LinkedIn. Let's dive into this because I'm excited to explore all these opportunities, Mel.
I can't thank you enough. And hey, Trevor, welcome. Thanks for joining us. One of the things I love about what Shell just said is in Shell's amazing LinkedIn profile, there's a link to like hop on a call with her. Some of us have them, hop on a call, check out a freebie, check out a special offer. And I was delighted to actually click through and check out Shell's link. So I have to tell you, it sometimes, and I have to really thank you, you're a gift from the universe. You kind of bring some magic and a magic spark. And I really needed one at the time I reached out. LinkedIn can get so overwhelming. Social media can. You can get, as you and I were talking about before, I said today's one of those lower vibe days for me. You have those days where you're not really sure how you want to show up on the platform. If you want to show up, do you want to just write a comment? Are you sharing a post? Are you popping into a poll? Are you going live? There's so many different things that you can do. Hey, Meryl, how are you? Welcome.
I see a
Meryl,
familiar face. Yeah.
yes. And I am delighted because Meryl and I feel like we are in your orchestra. We feel like we are in your orchestra on your lives. And I have to thank Meryl. Meryl and I Meryl, you're in charge of our emojis, I would say during Shell's lives. I look and we're kind of doing the same thing, but I think there's kind of, and I love that you have high vibe conversations as you're alive. There's a choice of how we show up, and and whether we do show up. How do you help others navigate through that?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a great question. So like you mentioned today that like today is a particularly like lower vibe day, right? And so even when I have the high vibe conversations as the host of those, I'm not always feeling super high vibe before the leading into them. Like I might be having an off morning, I might just be like frustrated, stressed out, like super introverted or like in my own head and my thoughts went right before live time. The second I click that button, I'm now opened up to it's like a whole different mindset for me. It's not like I change my persona because I'm still who I am. But like what I want to encourage people to think about is that like just because you are feeling a certain way doesn't mean you need to stay feeling a certain way. So to your point about feeling a little bit low vibe today, maybe by the end of this conversation you won't be. And it's okay if you stay in that lower vibration energy because every day is going to look a little bit different, but maybe you'll also pick up on some of my energy or the energy of the audience, and so you get to play around in that space and show up however you want to show up. And so to also to that point of like I might not be on high vibration when those conversations start, but I pick up on every other person's energy in the room. I can tell when other people aren't feeling it or if they're really not um, sure what to say. Like I try my best to carry the conversation. People carry over from the comments that I see, even if I don't have a moment to pull them up on the screen the way you're doing beautifully. Like I struggle a little bit with that. So sometimes I'm reading them, but I don't always bring them up. I just transition the conversation like as best I can. And so I really gravitate and pull from other people's energy to fuel that high vibe conversation. Now, by the end of that conversation, and this could be different every single week, every single day, by the end of that conversation, I'm now at a higher place than I was. I might still be kind of low vibration, but I've at least brought my energy up to where like other people can feel like they can match it. And that's my goal from week to week is yes, I know I have this contagious, in a good way, energy about me. And I, as introverted as I am, I try to bring that out no matter what I'm feeling behind the scenes. Because yes, I can be vulnerable and show you all the sides of me, and I want you to see that. I want you to see the days that I cry on camera. I have those moments more regularly than I'd like to admit. I also want you to see that I can lift your mood and lift your spirits and help you gravitate to another place. So coming back to your initial conversation of how do we navigate these spaces better, like you just have to show up and trust that whoever is on the other side needs to see it, needs to see you in whatever form you're in, whether that's low vibe, high vibe, anywhere in between. I know that was a long-winded answer, but like hopefully I covered that and more.
You were amazing with that, and thank you for always bringing the energy. We appreciate you. You absolutely rock. And welcome Marcia and welcome Cheryl. Thanks also for popping in and welcome back. I think one of the things that you really helped me with was there's those different channels, and I was always really transparent about helping clients with their energy leaks and drains. But I wasn't, until we spoke, really so conscious of the need to really maintain mine so that the introvert felt like she had enough energy to show up, enough energy to type the comment, enough energy mm, to hit the go live button. And I think the thing that's hard is that Merrill, you are so hired, I'm telling you. Merrill is saying he appreciates the love from his second Mel and Shell team. I have to thank you very much. You're right. We adore Melanie Mitchell Wexler. And I think that energy part of kind of imagining what the hmm, energy is that you want to bring to a conversation, and maybe the energy behind our intention, like Shell's saying, she's really sensitive to what someone else's energy feels like, which is really important in person and virtually. We may have an interesting response, as someone would say, to an open ended or, to a deep or probing connection. Hey, Misha, welcome. I love too what Trevor's saying. So, Trevor's saying that he works to bring a certain level of energy to his live persona, and that it isn't always a reflection of his whole personality. He said it's part, but not all the time. There's a talent in that. Like Shell and I were both talking about being introverts. I'll say I'm a trained ambivert. There's that ability sometime to hmm, hit the level or kind of dial up a little bit, uh, which sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. I smile all the time. This scarf and Shell and I were talking about is a fabulous gift from an amazing entrepreneur who just surprised me with like a scarf in like my favorite color. It just popped up in the mail. And I remember I do have a tendency sometimes to put this scarf on a lower vibe or a lower energy day. I think the part that's hard is in some cases people are having conversations with someone they're hoping becomes an ideal client, an ideal collaborator, an ideal future client, or an ideal future collaborator. And sometimes in that pressure, I think steers a conversation in a whole different direction.
Yeah. I I would encourage you to think of it, and not just you, Melanie, like everyone that's here, like what if you took the lid off that pressure cooker? Like what if it wasn't a pressure? What if, like, because pressure has such a negative connotation a little bit. Like we don't think of pressure in the good sense. But like what if you just reframed that as an opportunity, as like an opening? So take the lid off that pot so that all the steam and the pressure can come out a little bit, and like what now can that be open to you for you to throw into that pot and add to it? Sorry, I'm going in a cooking reference a little bit here, but like what now can you be open to throwing into the mix there? Like what are you going to let out and get out of your system by taking that pressure off too? Because like right, steam's going to come out, the pressure is going to lessen, and it's going to cook in a different way. So like if you can just take the lid off the pot a little bit so that other things can come in there and meld and like come together, like that's how conversations that lead to collaborations happen. It's just that opening yourself up. So if you don't think about it as pressure, think about it as possibility. Change
uh,
that
I,
p change that little p word around.
I love that, and thanks, Misha, for joining us. I've been hanging out with Misha a lot recently. Misha and Cheryl are in the Smart Women Partner cohort that Geraldine has set up for us for the fourth quarter to kind of help each other ramp up our energy. And in the process, she's going to write an interesting book about our experiences. But I think one of the things that I love is, like you're saying, those conversations start someplace. And we think sometimes at the beginning, you think of that the what's happening to welcome someone to a space, to a conversation, whether it's somebody popping in and you waving hi, or you're smiling, or maybe your voice welcomes them before they see you. I think of that sometimes as, in the old days, family reunions. We haven't had one in ages now, but there would always be the voice of an elder, like big and booming, or some fantastic music, and it would just kind of set that tone or that tempo. And I think that's sometimes what happens in a conversation that leads to a collaboration, or it leads to a speaking gig, or some sort of deep, lasting connection. There's something that really sets the tempo there.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I'm thinking about like reunions and family gatherings where there's like, I think about who do I gravitate towards when I first arrive. Like, yes, there might be somebody like welcome me in right at the front. But like, am I gravitating toward that person, or do I just need to like past them to get into wherever the family gathering is happening? Or do I immediately, because that can sometimes be a default of like, yes, I have to go through this person to get to where I'm being called. um and like, so I think about it in a family reunion setting, like, all right, where's the energy in the room? And I can picture myself like looking around the space and being like, all right, that there's that person over there, I want to go talk to them. Or like, oh, I see these people like interacting and hanging out over here, or there's some dancing going out over here, there's the food, there's the punch bowl. Like I'm like taking stock of the entire area to see where I can meld and fit in or insert myself in certain cases, or like add to it, or you know, bring my spice. If I go back to my melting pot, like boiling pot reference, like I'm seeing where I can jump in and infuse that. And so I love that, because it makes me think about how we first met. Right? You mentioned that Lachelle Adkins, America's Supermom, was the one who introduced us, and I don't remember how many months ago that was, because time just escapes me a lot of the time. But like I had been going through my existing network of connections, and I was like, all right, I haven't talked to some of these people in a while, but I still want to know what's going on. I see their content all the time, but like we haven't really been present in each other's spaces. And Lachelle happened to be one of those women that I reignited a conversation with, and I was like, you know what? We never actually hopped on a call. Is that something you still want to do? Like we've shown up in multiple spaces together, we support each other, we run in some of the same circles, like, but we've never had like a one-on-one call to get to know each other better, or we haven't done that in a while. um, and she and I hopped on a call, and by the end of it, like I and she has a big family network, right? Like, and that's just her personal family, let alone her amazing wealth of connections in these spaces to connect everybody together and bring opportunities to the forefront. Like just watching her as a powerhouse and a mom, that I mean that's why she calls herself America's Supermom, or at least that's why it resonates with me that people call her America's Supermom, of like how good she is in a family dynamic and beyond of connecting people. And so we got off that call, and immediately um, in came those messages of like, I'd like to connect you with Melanie Richards. I'd like to connect you with this person over here and this person over here. And she must have sent me like 15 introductory messages, all with different people, because she had that just by one reignited conversation, she knew exactly who else like would be good to know me, and vice versa. And thankfully, brilliantly, like you and I have come together through that. And like it's all these connections are the gifts that keep on giving. Yours especially. Like we have collaborated on numerous occasions now. Like we show up in each other's spaces to support each other, and then we've come to find out that we have other connections in common too, right? Like I think I came to you and I was like, oh, Melanie, like the other Melanie that we've mentioned with Meryl, right? Like we have other things that dictate and drive our connections and like bring us even closer. And I look for those things. I look for those things with people in my network. I look for those things in the connections of my network. And I see where these seeds can be planted and how they can grow and have more of these beautiful conversations that lead to more collaborations. So if it's possible for us to do this so beautifully, like I know it's possible for so many other people to do this too. And all it took was me reaching out to one person who then connected me, who then connected me, who then connected me. And that's just one branch of connections. Imagine if you did that with like a lot of your network.
I absolutely love that because you reminded me also, just like Lachelle does it. And hey, Lynn Williams is another amazing person at doing that. I was introduced to Lynn, and I remember Lynn was working on something while we were talking. And that night, Lynn's like, I'm not online yet, but I have some people to introduce you to. I have some people I want to meet, want to connect you with. Lynn connected me with like 9 people that night, when she's like, I'm not able to do it right now. I'll think about it, and I'll but I think that care, it's almost like someone selecting opportunities for us in the process of an introduction. They don't always work. There may be an introduction, maybe the timing's not right. There may be somebody you never get a chance really to connect with. Maybe you're in different time zones. But Lynn introduced me to 9 people. I am following 8 of them. I probably had conversations with 6 of them. I think Lynn mentioned one person that I was already connected with, and it was like, oh, cool. And I laugh because that's the one person that I haven't had a conversation with. And it's really funny. We were already connected in some way, but we just have not had a chance to have a direct conversation. And I think that's the part is sometimes we're not sure if we're speaking the same language. Shell's helping us really think about whether we have the same energy. Uh, Misha is mentioning it about having a tribe is truly important with a common ground. You kind of want to feel like you're starting from the same place, or in some cases, the same level. You know, and I think I love that about the conversations because we never know exactly where they will lead. There's not necessarily a map.
Yeah. We're creating the map as we go, I think. Yeah. I think, and I've been playing around with figuring out like I'm gonna segue here just to like bring this back together. Um, I've been dabbling a little bit with like my astrocartography. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, and I have
I
no
just,
idea how to
I
read
just
this
went, I
map
just went to a
fully
webinar
yet.
on Friday. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! This is so much fun.
And unlike this map, like this road map or like this physical map that you can kind of picture in your head of like how we connect the dots from one person to the next, like your astrocartography, like your map of, I don't know how to break this down even more because I don't fully understand it yet, but like these are things that like are already predestined for us, like if we just went there to look. And yes, I do believe in the universe. I believe that like things don't just, they're not coincidence. Things happen for a reason in the right time. Like we're connected with people when we are supposed to see them, and sometimes we miss it the first two, three, however many times around, until, and it'll keep hitting us in the head until we're ready to see it. But like if you think about it from this lens, like we already have so many people in our networks. We have so many people at our fingertips, at our disposal, within our reach. And so many of us, myself included, because I'm tapped into it, but I'm not fully utilizing it yet. Like we've only like barely scratched the surface of how we can make more collaborations and conversations and connections from the people that we already have in front of us. We just don't always instinctively like do it to build, to grow. And it's not intuitive to do that on LinkedIn. Sometimes it's more like, all right, connect, follow, and then what do you do with those connections? And so a lot of times, like those connections, those follows, like they just fall by the wayside until you are smacked in the face with them again. And there's like, all right, I've been screaming in your face for like weeks now for you to like engage with this with my posts. Like I'm just calling, I'm begging for you to do it. And yes, the person's not actually saying that or begging, but like you're seeing people's content for a reason. Hopefully you've curated your feed to like be more of these things that you actually want to see. But like we collectively on LinkedIn and beyond should be doing a better job to have more of these collaborative conversations, because that's where the opportunities, that's where the possibilities come from.
See, I truly love what you're saying for so many reasons, and not just because of the astrocartography from last week. I kind of think of this as astrocartography is a mixture of astrology, so our planets and where they lie, and the ography part as geography, which I always think in, like places to travel to, places where you can move frequently. For me, I think the bridge is becoming the word car in the middle. Where can we travel to?
Yeah.
Is like the short way of me thinking about it. And I love what Shell's saying is if we're visiting each other's content, it's kind of like it can be traveling. It
Yeah.
can be, moving to a different destination, whether you're hanging out in an audio room or you're watching someone's live or a replay or you're reading somebody's newsletter or hopefully a really cool post. And hopefully you're stopping by to say hi.
Yeah.
Like Misha says, we are all connected, whether we choose to to reach out and touch or not. And and it is really delightful. I love what you're saying because starting to get some interesting connection requests in the last week. And I interesting in the sense that they're, hi Karen, how are you? Welcome. I'm starting to think of them in the sense of, universe is really testing communication patterns. Someone who I have not actually had a conversation with who reached out a while ago and I laughed because they're in business development and I smiled and they reached out and then we were going to hop on a call and the call wasn't with them. And that was the one thing I was able to say. We have been going back and forth now for a little bit, kind of the dance. Will we or won't we? Will we hear each other's voice or won't we? And the person who's reaching out, they're not a person who posts content on LinkedIn. They're not responding to content on LinkedIn. And they're trying to set up a meeting for me with somebody who I haven't met and haven't spoken to. I
Yeah.
laughed at it a little while. It's a family member. That's the coolest part about it. This is the daughter trying to set up appointments for her mom. And I think it's really interesting because in their family, they're having some sort of conversations. And I'm like, in our typing, we're we're missing something that's connecting us. And I laughed because we connected last year and it was just before Be Visible Shift celebration, which I'm laughing, I'm hosting later this week. And here it is again. So it must be on some sort of calendar cycle. You're reaching out. Can we have a conversation? She says, we haven't reconnected. And I'm laughing because to me, we haven't connected the first time. But I think another interesting one is someone else sent a connection request today. And he says, I'd like to connect with you if, and I started smiling. This is all in the first sentence. And in the two connections or messages, I'm like, we're kind of missing each other. We're not, we're I don't know if it's a choice of language, if it's a choice of words, if it's a choice of style or how we welcome. I think if somebody sent hi in a connection request, you know, there's something in there. There's some common language. I would like to connect if, and I'm kind of like, in your first sentence, you're kind of giving me our terms for engagement. And it kind of felt like a conversation that just, it wasn't, it's not going to go anywhere. So I love what you're saying about leaving the possibilities part and the opportunity just to explore a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's sometimes, a lot of times actually, where and I'm sure it happens to like the majority of us, where I get invitations or in mails to connect with people. Um, and I know. I'm not even talking about the people that are like, hey, that are just blatantly, I can 10x your revenue in 30 days or your money back, or like, would you be interested in like having 100 appointments set for you in the next 10 days, or like whatever. Like there's some blatant obvious pitches, but then there's other like more subtle undertoned messaging that's like, I know a pitch is coming, but I kind of am still curious, and whether or not I accept it or just still message back accepting it right away. Like if it's a connection request and there's a message attached to it, you have the opportunity to like respond to their message without accepting the connection request right away. And so sometimes I play around in that space because I can't get whatever I need to out of their initial message, or like there's still something I'm curious about, even if I know a pitch is coming and I'm probably not interested in it. Maybe there's something else on their profile that I'm like, all right, I know they're probably trying to do this with me, but I see on their profile that we have this in common, or we're in the same geographic location, we have these mutual connections, we're in some of the same groups, whatever it is. And then I'll play around in that space a little bit, and then I'll decide if I want to connect with that person. Hey, Lachelle, we were just talking about you a few minutes ago, and we're so excited that you're here, because we love that you've connected us together, and that you do this so amazingly well for like almost everybody that comes into your life. And so yes, this is a shining example of conversations that lead to collaborations. Yeah, I pay attention to your inbox, whether that's in your DMs or your connection requests, and like trust your gut. If you don't feel like that conversation or being that connected to that person is going to serve you, or you can't serve them, and it doesn't always have to be win-win, right? Like, but if there's nothing, that no common ground that you can connect on, then like maybe that conversation's not for you, and you get to decide. You don't have to feel pressured into it. Take the lid off and see what you want to do with it.
It's really cool. And Karen, it's a good one. How about those connections that ask you, why do you want to connect? At some point, do you expect to be pitched about something? Maybe not as a client, but perhaps as a collaborative partner, a podcast guest, etc. I enjoy those because I'll admit it, the BNI alumni in me, the, I love sometimes asking the question, what inspired you to stop by my profile? Because my profile is going to be a work in art forever. It's not
It's
an
never going
op.
to be perfect.
It's fully an op. I'm joking. It's a work of art, work in progress, because it'll always be it'll it maybe never be a truly optimized profile. And I've accepted that. It's something that I'll admit I'm exploring. I appreciate people who do ask why you want to connect. And I think sometimes, Karen, that question happens more often than not in financial services or in some sort of lead generation or digital agency. Um, I think sometimes, and Misha's saying she always asks that question. I don't think I always expect to be pitched. I think I'm really conscious in the connection requests. There's another human at the other end. Hopefully, it's not just, fully automation and someone's series of templates to see if we respond, if we take a nibble, if we take a bite.
Yeah. I try really hard, and not always successfully, to answer that question when I send the connection request, so that that question doesn't even have to be asked. And what I mean by that is like when I'm first vetting somebody's profile, like I'm not just, LinkedIn does a really not great job. Sorry, LinkedIn, it's true. Of like just putting that connect button or the follow button right in front of your face and making it really easy to just hit that button instead of going to look at somebody's profile. But when you do that, you lose the opportunity to add a short note. And so, more often than not, unless I'm using it from my phone and my finger slipped or whatever, sometimes I forget to send the message, or like it happens. But like if I'm taking the time to add a short note, I am including why I'm connecting in the first place, in as best I can, in that short. You have 300 characters to do it, so it's a very short space. So you have to be intentional with that message. So it's usually something like, "Hey, Melanie, um, I noticed that you're doing whatever it is that I searched for. I'm interested in like whatever that connecting thread is. I noticed that you're in the greater Philadelphia area, and I'd love to connect with you because I want to grow my network with more people in that space. Or I noticed that we have similar connections, or we're in a similar group." Like I am telling you, and I'm just doing it like super generic right now, like because that's where it's got to start from. You have to start from those baby pieces and then build from that and tailor it in your own voice. But like find that connecting thread that brings you to that person, that makes that person go, "Oh yeah, we are in that same space." Or, yeah, we both do have a similar background. Or, oh, yeah, I see we're also connected with these people over here. Like, it's a conversation starter. So I try to answer that question when I'm connecting in the first place so that that question never needs to get asked. Now, if somebody were to ask me that question, if I send a connection request and they still aren't sure or for whatever reason, especially if I did intend to pitch a person. Like I don't pitch, or I try really hard not to in the DMs. I'd rather do that on a call after I've assessed whether or not like that person's a good fit. And we don't need to get into a whole sales conversation here. That's maybe for another time. But like if somebody were to ask me that question, I would then go look even further and like, all right, what do I like about their profile? I will find something else that I'm going to compliment, and it's not going to be a compliment sandwich. Um, it's going to be a genuine compliment. Hey, I really love what you're doing here in your banner, or I really like the way that you did this, or I see that somebody left you this amazing recommendation. Have you thought about like putting this here or creating content around it? Like I am going to give a compliment that is genuine based on something that I see that they're doing really well. And if I have any suggestions for them how to do it better, I will ask if they're open to receiving feedback, but I'm always going to start with a compliment that speaks to like making that person feel seen and heard. So even if I have every intention later on of making that person my client, I want that person to know that I'm here with you. I am in this space. I am at like we are I'm not above you, I'm not below you, we are on the same level, and I am here to like be in this space with you. If that, I hope that makes sense, because like I want that human connection. I want somebody to feel seen and heard. I don't want them to feel like I'm just sending generic templated message automated messages like over and over to every single person. No, every single message I have is going to be like a genuine thing because I've taken the time to put it out there. Yes, it might be a little template for me of like something that starts with like this framework, but I'm going to go back in and make sure that it doesn't come off like just a generic template that can be copied and pasted. I'm infusing something from that person that I see, and that's a great starting point for a conversation, whether you are pitching, whether you are job seeking, whether you are looking for collaborations, whether you just genuinely want to get to know somebody, and it doesn't have to go anywhere other than like, hey, like you're doing some really exciting stuff and I'd love to like share your energy. Like tell me a little bit more about that. Like it literally doesn't have to be as much as, or it gets to be as much or as little as you want it to be, as long as it comes from a genuine place. So yeah, a long-winded way of answering that question. As you guys can tell, I do not know how to tell a short story.
We
So
appreciate every single one of your stories. You take your time. I absolutely love that because Karen typed back, that's good. It really reminds you too. I think when I asked the question about why did somebody stop by my profile, one time I asked that of somebody who was in the research industry. I didn't see that in his headline. He was in the research industry. He then wrote me back hundreds of words to tell me what in the profile. He says, "Oh, you're an introvert. Oh, this." And I thought it was so interesting because he really gave such great feedback with care. I hit that connect button so quick and really thanked him for his insights. As Shell says, it's something that really is a real conversation. It was a rich dialogue. It was something like, wow, here's something I noticed about you that most people didn't say, or most people don't respond to. I think what I love about it too is that you're reminding us you're looking from kind of all angles, which is so deep. When Shell looks at your profile, she's in your nooks and crannies in a really cool way. And afterwards she sends you like this amazing email with like three things. And I love that. It's just three things. It's not like, here's the most detailed analysis that I'll possibly ever give you of your profile. Here's some observations, some things you might want to just think of or look like. And I love that. I think the hard part is sometimes in the connection request, somebody from attending events, people sends events. If it's like a heavy event season, one day somebody used a person's name they didn't realize. I know 5 people with that name. They didn't realize it. 3 people with that name had an event that same day. The person asked, said, I was at so and so's event. And I asked them, which so and so? I think I should have said, I registered for 3 events by the same person that day. Which event did you attend? The person never answered. I have no idea what the frame of reference was to kind of continue the conversation. So, like Shell's saying, if it gets really on a human level and the person's not responding, it kind of just sits like it's in Never Never Land. I'm smiling because I so want to like talk to Shell forever.
Our
And,
conversations could go on, right?
and boy, I truly thank you again, Lachelle. And there's a couple of links. I'm going to share Shell's profile link for those of you who are not on LinkedIn. Shell is so worth the trip to LinkedIn to check out this profile, to check out her lives on noon on Thursdays, noon ET, high vibe conversations, really cool with amazing panels and wonderful guests. And check out Shell and the real Melanie Mitchell Wexler and Roy on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. ET. And I'm like, Shell, you got a live and an audio on the same day. You're like a rock star because that like an
It's my live
introvert.
day.
Yep. See, that's really smart. In my next life, we're gonna try that one. And which your other great link, Shell, where does this lead to?
Okay. So, and you can access this on my profile as well. So this is a direct link to book that LinkedIn Valuable assessment with me, the free call, where we spend 30 minutes talking through your specific personal LinkedIn strategy and like what's working for you, what's not. And then that's what Melanie was mentioning before of I send you an email afterwards, kind of recapping what we've went through, what we've looked at, and I will hone in on 3 areas for you to keep improving on or to take a deeper look at. And so that's the direct link. You can also access that directly from my profile underneath my headline. That's the link that's there that says book your free LinkedIn assessment.
Fabulous,
Yeah.
fabulous. What would
Yeah.
you like to leave people with, Shell? In because I love Shell and I had a couple of conversations to come to this topic, so we'll do this again for the next title. We'll let you know. But what would you like to leave people with, Shell, today?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing I can say, whether you are on LinkedIn, whether you are coming to us from on another platform, wherever you are, I always say know what your goals are for that platform. But like more than that, you're building a network. And so be intentional with that network and the way you interact with them and be open. That's like be open because whether you believe that it's predestined and like everything's already planned out, the universe already knows what it's going to throw at you, or you don't believe that. Like you never know what conversations, what collaborations, what opportunities can come your way, and you'll never know what you might have missed out on if you don't remain open. So if you happen to tune into last week's high vibe conversation, we were talking about receiving and boundaries, and I said I used to suck at receiving because, and we talked about like compliments and such, but I also was not open to receiving opportunities. Like I just was so closed off to it previously, and that really all changed within the last 2 3 years of just trying to be more open minded and letting things fall where they needed to fall and look at the opportunities that have presented themselves. So, if if I boil it down to one thing, just try to be more open minded with what comes your way. And you just never know what that's going to lead to.
I really love that, and I really enjoy what you just said too about the receiving sometimes, that those messages or those conversations that are kind of filled with gratitude are an opportunity, as Shell saying, to let someone know you hear them, you feel them, you see them. And if it's not current, that it happened at one point, and to let them know when and where, because it might not have been something that that person was even aware of, that changed your life, that added, whether it's grace or elegance or just maybe some, as Shell was saying, some missing ingredient in a recipe that you were trying to locate. But I absolutely love that. I am excited and delighted, everybody, that you're joining us today. Thanks again, Lynn, for popping in with the link for LinkedIn 101 for
Yeah,
Thursdays at
come
6
become a
p.m.
LinkedIn rock star with us.
That's right. That's right. They definitely make it manageable to process, to ask questions, to discover, to explore. And sometimes for many, LinkedIn doesn't always feel like it's maybe in the beginning, and I've been on it for a while, it didn't always feel like the easiest classroom to figure out what seat you wanted to sit in, or hey, where's the lesson plan for today? But they definitely give you the topics, the approach, and an opportunity to just come in and ask questions and just be really real.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have fun with it. So like it's definitely an open space to share and ask your questions. And if questions go unanswered or we don't get to everything, like bring them the following week. Message us privately and we can like dive in on it. Like it's the thing I love about having lives and audio events, and I know they're both variations of lives, but like this is a place to play around and connect with other people that are right in front of you. And audio events are a great way to do that. Live streams are a great way to do that. Like this is happening in real time. And yeah, there's replays on the lives. There's not necessarily replays on the audio events if you're doing them on LinkedIn, but there are on other platforms, right? Like so this could be your networking for the day. Like this could be like connecting with other people who are also interested in this space, who are showing up in this room right now, and like this could be your networking opportunity for the day. So if you are struggling with engagement, like this is your time to have conversations too. And so like think about it from that lens as well. And Melanie is an amazing supporter of us on Thursdays, so make sure you come in and show her some love too. And she is just such a powerhouse with the live streams. Like I know I have sung your praises with this, Mel. Like you do live streams so well. Like you are, even as someone who says they're an introvert or skews ambivert, like you just bring the magic of like these conversations, and like you're the magic, like that hashtag that you have on your screen, igniting trust, like that you embody that. And so anybody who comes here today or shows up from week to week, like they know they're getting an authentic version of you. And like there's, and I've told you this before, like there's so much endless possibility at your fingertips with these lives. Like you are just beginning to scratch the surface of it, and it's brilliant to watch. Like I love watching this unfold. So
Thank
thank
you
you
so
for
much.
bringing me into the fold with you.
Oh, I am honored, and thank you so much for your grace. And Lachelle again, woo! Lachelle, I'm gonna hang out with Shell. We're gonna have dinner. We're gonna toast to you. It'll be long distance unless we get you up to New York soon. But I just want to thank you again for joining us. Thank you for your gems and your insight and your absolutely incredible energy and your fantastic tips about how to approach the process of creating conversations that lead to collaborations, whether it's on LinkedIn, in life, or any other platform. So thank you for your great, great gems.
Oh, if I could just like hug you all through the screen, like I'm just trying to.
And we hope you stay safe, stay well, stay inspired, stay in touch, and have a magnificent day filled with opportunities and possibilities. Take great care. Stay well.